Live streaming is an incredibly powerful tool, and the fact that you can live stream from directly within your Mighty network makes your community even more valuable for your members. My name is Tom, and today I've got a few tips to help you create the best live stream possible from directly within your Mighty network. And I do want to start off by saying that these are tips and tricks that I have developed over several years of live streaming, but they're not the laws of the universe. So it's always up to you to trust your instincts for what's best for you, your streams, and your community. But I do think these are some best practices that can really help. And of course, there's nothing wrong with just embracing the moment, hitting the go live button within your community, and sharing an experience with your members. But if you want to take your streams to that next level, these are a few things that can really help you stay on track. And the first tip is to remember that when it comes to video, your audio is just as important, if not more so, than the actual visual itself. And this is very counterintuitive because when people think of streaming and making videos, the first thing they usually think of is a camera. And what kind of camera do I need? How do I make my camera look its best? Audio is very easy to overlook, but believe it or not, people will stick with something longer if it looks bad and sounds good than if it looks really good but sounds bad. So how can you get the best audio in your live stream? Right within Mighty Networks, when you create a live stream, you're gonna have the option to select an audio source. Now you can use the built-in microphone on your computer or your phone, and as long as you're positioning yourself close to those, you'll probably get a decent sound. But if you have the ability, it's always best to have a separate dedicated microphone. And it doesn't have to be super complex or expensive. If you know that you're going to be live streaming regularly with your community, I highly recommend that you get some sort of USB microphone to connect to your computer, and that's going to improve your sound more than any built-in microphone ever will. There are a ton of USB microphones out there. They range in price from very affordable to very expensive, so you can just find something that suits your needs and your budget, and your community members will thank you, I promise. A couple of great sounding and affordable options are the Samson Q2U, the Rode NT USB Mini, and the microphone I'm using right now, which is the Shure MV7. Once you have your microphone connected to your computer, then it's very important when you create your live stream to make sure that your microphone is actually selected. There have been a number of times I've seen people have a microphone right up in their face, but the actual selected audio source for their live stream is their computer's built-in microphone, which is very far away, and then it sounds nowhere near as good as their actual microphone that they spent money on and spent time setting up. So be sure that you have the correct audio source selected when you start your live stream from within your Mighty network. And all microphones are a little different, so if you do get a dedicated mic, I highly recommend that you take some time to read the instructions, maybe watch a couple YouTube videos from microphone and audio related YouTube channels to learn a little bit more about it, and that way you can be sure that you're using it properly, you have it positioned well, you're speaking at an appropriate volume, all those things to help you sound your best. But of course, video is a really important part of your video live stream, so for tip number 2, let's talk about some camera angles and lighting. Even if you're using your computer's built-in webcam, being sure to have it positioned in a way that makes you look good on camera is very helpful. In general, that means have the camera right at about eye level, maybe slightly above eye level to look your best. This can sometimes be tricky with laptops and mobile devices since we often hold them at a lower angle while we're looking at them. A low camera angle will automatically make a subject look powerful and big and imposing, which might not be what you want for your live stream. If you go the opposite direction and position your camera angle too high, that's going to create the feeling that you are very small and meek and meager, and let's face it, that's not what you are as a Mighty network host. You need to be mighty on camera. And as unfriendly as the camera lens's unblinking glass eye might look, remember that that is your viewer. So do your best to maintain eye contact with your camera, and that's going to help keep your audience engaged with your stream too. And while there is an entire world of lighting in regards to video, a couple quick things to keep in mind is just to make sure that you have plenty of light, that your camera's not grainy and dark. And always avoid positioning your camera where it's facing a bright light source. So you don't want to sit with your back against a window or a bright light. In general, it's better to have those things behind the camera so they can illuminate you as the subject. And my third tip for a successful live stream is to make sure that you're streaming with a purpose. That doesn't mean you have to script everything out and storyboard it and spend hours and hours planning. It just means that you have an awareness of what you want your community members to take away from spending their time with you. My personal favorite thing to do is work backwards and think of, at the end of this stream, is there something specific that I'd like my viewers to think, feel, know, or do? and whatever that might be, what do I need to do to get them there? That helps me structure the stream. Do I want to put all my valuable info up front and then leave room for chat and conversation? Do I want to keep it super casual? Do I want to keep it really formal? It also helps me figure out my technical needs. If I decide that I'm doing something where I'm going to need to do a screen share or something like that, and that will help me make sure that everything is up and running before the stream begins, so I don't have to do live troubleshooting. And as I said at the beginning of this video, there's nothing wrong with going live spontaneously. That's why that button is there. You can press it at any time and be live with your community. Even just hosting a live stream that's a general chat, Q&A, catch-up session, hangout time with your community can be really valuable for your members and for you too as the host. Depending on how long your stream runs, you might need to reset the room a few times. That might mean that at the beginning of the stream, you say, hey, today we're going to learn how to do X, Y, and Z. And then 10 or 15 minutes later, there might be new people coming in, other people left, and you need to say, hey, for those of you who missed the beginning, today we're talking about blah, blah, blah. You can go back and watch the replay for the beginning, but now we're moving on to whatever the next thing might be in your stream. It just helps keeps things organized, and it helps to keep your community members and your viewers engaged from start to finish. And speaking of people being engaged during your stream, that brings me to tip number 4, which is the chat. You never, ever, ever want to overlook the chat in a live stream. That two-way communication is one of the things that makes live streaming so special. The fact that you can say something and almost immediately people can reply back, because you might not be aware of this, Mighty Networks live streaming has very low latency. That means there's a very, very small delay from the time you say something to the time that the viewer sees it. And of course, this all does depend on your network connection, but other streaming platforms, even like YouTube, have sometimes upwards of a minute-long delay from the time you say something to the time your audience hears it. That can be very hard to have a discussion when there's a minute-long delay, but Mighty Networks is pretty much the fastest, lowest latency streaming service I've ever used, which means as soon as you say something, it's gonna be real quick that people can respond back. And the chat is virtually instantaneous. If you have a live stream going and you type something in, you'll see as soon as you hit send, it pops up right in the chat. So that helps you engage in ultimate real time. And sometimes live stream viewers will have conversations amongst themselves. You might even have some moderators in there to help clear things up, and people might just have conversations that you don't need to bring up on the stream. But you never want to just ignore the chat entirely, because those are the people who are dedicating their time to be there with you on your stream. And if there's a way you can help them out and be specific to meet their needs, that's always a great thing. You don't want to let the chat derail you on a live stream, which is a thing that can happen. And that means if you're in the middle of making a point and you see a message pop up, you don't need to stop mid-sentence and jump over here to talk about what somebody said. You can finish your thought and then check in, or maybe you want to spend a few minutes talking about a specific subject and then go back and check in with the chat. So it doesn't mean you have to be immediate with every message and everything that happens in the chat, but you just don't want to ignore it for the duration of your stream. And I personally think that it's usually a good idea to say the person's name when you're talking to them in the chat, because it's always confusing if you're mid-sentence and then suddenly you say something like, I did have that Beanie Baby collection when I was in middle school. People might not know what you're talking about, but if you say, oh, that's right, person's name in the chat, I did have a Beanie Baby collection when I was in middle school. Anyway, getting back to what we were talking about, on your Beanie Baby Mighty Network. So it's usually a good idea, as much as you're comfortable with and your members are comfortable with, just letting them know when you bring up their comments. And if your members ask a question and they're listening more than watching, you saying their name will help pull them back in so they can get the answer that they're looking for. And Mighty Networks has a really unique feature along with the chat, which is the ability to see participants in a live stream. So even if your community members aren't actively chatting, you can still see who is in the stream with you, which is awesome, because that helps you to really tailor your stream and what you're talking about to those specific people who are there. There is something interesting with this that I want to bring up, which is totally up to you to decide how you want to handle it within your network. And that's whether or not to call out people who are participants but not active in the chat. What I mean by that is that if somebody's actively chatting in a stream, they've made it known that they're there, they're engaging publicly, there's nothing wrong with saying their name, calling them out, that sort of thing. But if somebody's not engaging with the chat and they're just watching the live stream, they might be busy, they might be shy, they might not want to be actively participating as much as other people in the chat. This is a very personal decision that's just up to you and your community and how each individual stream goes. But I just wanted to bring up the point that just because somebody is in the participants window, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're ready to have the spotlight shine on them. So as the host of both the stream and the community, you probably want to make everyone feel comfortable, and that's just a good thing to be aware of. And it is awesome that you can see everybody who's watching while you're streaming. And last but not least, there was a mistake right there. Tip number 5 is all about what to do when there are mistakes in your live streams, because over the years that I've personally done live streams, I have gotten sick, I've been injured, I've had the computer shut down, I've had basically every technical problem you can think of. Pretty much everything that can go wrong has gone wrong for me at some point during a live stream. And check it out, I'm still here. The world didn't end. Yet, at least. Guess it depends on when you're watching this video. And so the last thing that I want to make sure you remember is you are doing this live, unexpected things will happen, and that's totally okay. Just roll with the punches. A lot of times that's the magic of live streaming, is people don't feel like they're watching a perfect pre-recorded video. They're in it with you. They're in real time. If a dog barks, something falls over, you make a mistake, the camera shuts off, it all happens. Don't worry about it. Nobody's gonna leave your stream or your community or think you're the worst person ever just because a mistake happened. You can have fun with it. You can roll with the punches. If it's something within your control, you could learn from it and try not to have it happen again in the future. But don't beat yourself up just because your stream has a few mistakes. A lot of times people don't even notice them. And if they do, it can usually just be a funny thing that actually bonds everyone together a little bit. It's like an inside joke, a shared memory that a whole bunch of people have that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And of course, there are a lot of other facets to live streaming. There's all the gear and all the technical side of things, but these are some very accessible, very simple, very down-to-earth, real-world tips that I've learned mostly through error, and I wanted to share them with you to help make the best live streams possible for your Mighty Network and your community members. And speaking of things that help you get better and better, check out this video right here for some helpful info in becoming an even better Mighty Network's community host.